everybody. I'm gonna do a quick video. It's actually probably not gonna be quick. Gonna have to do it in several pieces, as I don't have camera stand or anything like that, or extra set of hands. But I'll be posting this probably on YouTube, maybe Facebook. So I have this. If I can ever figure out where I swear our phones, my entire control panel is just completely gone. Okay, well, that was annoying. Anyway, so I have here a 2000 Dodge Stratus. Down here is the Serpentine Belt for you DIY people. I'm going to go over what exactly my problem is and how I'm going to go about fixing it. Post that video for anybody who's interested, cares to find out. So it's kind of hard to see because there's so much in the way. The AC pump is down there. It's this pulley at the bottom down here. And when you grab it and turn it, it grinds and is difficult to move in a couple spots. Let me see if I can demo that for you. Of course, you can't see around my hand. Okay, so down here we've got pulley, which you literally can't see me messing with. Hopefully you could hear that on the video. I'll have to mess with the audio to make it a little more obvious, but she grinds really bad. So the problem I was dealing with, oh come on. Problem I was dealing with, I'm gonna have to figure out how to switch that on the fly instead of having to stop and start the video over and over again. The problem I was dealing with was the Serpentine Belt was smoking. I got the smell of burnt metal. Stopped the vehicle, smoke was coming out from under the hood, cracked the hood, and from that pulley down there, I could see a ton of smoke coming up. Not good. Underside of the belt was kind of tacky. Rubber gets hot, kind of gets a little sticky. So, anyway, on this particular vehicle, just turn the phone like this, I guess. Down here, this tensioner pulley, there's a bolt. It's a 15mm bolt. Just take a ratchet, loosen that, and then the belt will come loose. This belt on this particular engine covers your AC pump and the alternator down here. Not the end of the world if it were to break, but as soon as the battery ran out of power without the alternator to keep it up and to power everything else in the car, the engine would stop. So anyway, I'm going to pull the tire off and do a couple other things and show you guys what we're looking at and what I need to get at. Maybe some of the work, maybe. One of these days I'll get a tripod and that'll make this easier. Either that or break out my actual camcorder. One of the two. Anyway, more to come here shortly. Alright, we got the tire off. As you can see, I have drilled and slotted rotors, which is really nice. Makes for better stopping. I actually probably, no, they're all right. Brakes are okay. So what I need to get at in order to get to the AC pump is remove this flashing. There's a couple of push pins here and here, and then on the underside there'll be some screws. I'm not 100% sure where they are. I think they're up here by the bumper guard. But you got to pull those out, and then this piece actually sits over the axle back here, which is really annoying because when you try to pull it out, it'll get stuck. Happens every time. As you can tell, I've had this car apart more than once. Not a vehicle I recommend, but it's what I got at the moment, so gotta work with what I got. Anyway, I'm gonna remove this and then we'll move on. Okay, as you can see, splash guard's removed. There were 3 push pins and one 10mm. It's a bolt with a nut on the other side. Fits right up in here, this hole here. Not too terribly difficult, other than it always hangs up on the axle. But you can see here is the AC pump. I should be able to get a better hold on it. Oh yeah, you can hear how that grinds real bad. Yeah, that's awful. That thing's shot. I gotta figure out what, or I gotta pull that thing apart, which should be loads of fun. And yeah, I'm gonna figure out what socket size is required to get that sucker off. I'll start disassembling it. We'll see what she looks like once I get her out. I gotta figure out what's going on here. I got oil everywhere. Problem for another day though. Okay, as you can tell from me being out of breath, trying to get that thing apart was a nightmare. So I had to have a second pair of hands to hold the thing in place. Well, I got this little beauty off. This is the clutch for the AC pump. You can tell by the look of it, it's not in awesome shape. The way we got that off is put a screwdriver between these studs here to hold it in place, because the pump's still good, it still moves. Hold it in place while I cranked on it with a ratchet from underneath. Honestly, was a lot easier than I thought it'd be, which may or may not be a good thing. Now, the really fun part is this beauty right here. This is the idler pulley. You can tell probably from the inside, there's all manner of metal debris in here. I have no idea how long it was grinding, how long the bearing had been shot, but obviously a while. Tool required, take it off, 3-jaw puller. These things are fantastic for getting pulleys off. Get it on the end of it. Let's see if I can show you real quick. Like I said, I don't have a second pair of hands consistently, so that's why I wasn't filming while I was doing this, but I'll try and show you how it's done. Again, for those of you who have the resources, I don't think I'd recommend doing this. Not a big deal on a unit where things aren't messed up already, but in this one's case, this was a royal pain. So the pulley fits down, move that, fits down around a lip on the back end, and then you just crank it in with either a wrench, or in my case I used a ratchet. Crank it in until the thing pops off the shaft. So that's how you use one of those. Sorry I couldn't show you the thing in action, but that's what it is. You can tell from this scoring, like, clutch pad worked at one point. Been having an electrical issue where something in the switch controller, I don't know, anytime I put like a paper clip down in the what do they call it, the relay slots to bridge the gap, bypass the relay, the clutch pad would engage. So I'm not 100% sure where that problem is. That's a thing for another day. This is the inside of the bearing. When I say the inside, those of you who know what a bearing is should look like that, with these little bearings inside here. They fit in a groove, kind of like that. Bearing was completely and totally shot. I'm surprised this thing didn't seize up and snap my serpentine belt. I really am. There's a lot of rust contamination in there. That might have been the cause. I don't know if you can see in there. There's a lot of rust buildup on the outside. Might have been a contributing factor as to why the bearing burned up. So now it's go to the internet and see if I can find either the bearing that goes in there somewhere, or I may have to get a whole new kit with an idler pulley and everything else. Hopefully not, but we shall see. So I will get back to this as soon as I can. So I know this is choppy and it bounces around, but continuing on with our work here with the AC. So you can see all these little studs are on the edges. For this particular model, the bearing is put in, and then they must use some kind of tool to hydraulically press in those studs around the edges, which effectively lock the bearing in indefinitely. Didn't save this thing, of course it's destroyed, but so I'm going to be using a drill press with a grinding wheel on it to get this out of here. See how this goes. Again, my apologies for the choppy cutting and bouncing around. I've had to do this project over multiple days. I'll be right back when this is done. So, sorry for all the bouncing around, everybody. It's been a couple days since the other parts that are going into this video occurred. Much to my disappointment, I wasn't able to actually get the pulley apart and put a bearing in it. Cost me about 20 bucks more, but I returned the other stuff, and then I did what sometimes you just have to suck it up and do. I had to purchase a remanufactured unit because there's the way they constructed it, the limitations of the tools I have, I wasn't able to get it done. So I just went with a remanufactured one, and we'll be installing that here in a second. I'm going to flip things around and show you exactly why I wasn't able to do the change out. So these are the two parts. This is the original one that I removed. You can see I've done a lot of grinding around the edges. Wasn't able to get that bearing thing out of there. The other problem is the fact that there's a lip here that the bearing sits in, and it is so badly rusted in there, I just could not get that thing out. I'm probably going to grind on it a little more, maybe cut the outer ring of the bearing, try and get it in there. We'll see. This is the remanufactured one, which I purchased from I think it's R&Y compressors. Maybe it's R&Y AC. I don't know. I'll get the name specifically for it, and I'll put links and everything in the video and stuff. New bearing in it. Now, these are not identical, as you can see here. The inner diameter is different, which means I'm gonna have to use the magnetic coil they sent with it. I may have to do some modification to get that to work, because I think the coil that's on there is a double wire. This is a single wire, as you can tell from here. It's probably designed to ground out through the casing, which shouldn't be a big deal, but we'll find out when we get it off. This is the new clutch. It is similar to the old one. Hopefully similar means it'll actually still function. Part of me has skepticism, but we'll see once we get it on. Not to say that the AC will even work, because it wasn't working before I had to do this, but we'll get that figured out. I think it's a wiring problem in the switch. But I'm going to start the process of removing the old magnet and getting the new one on. So, well, I was hoping I'd be able to show you guys piece by piece stuff going back together, but I ran into something interesting. And I am by no means an expert on all things car related, especially when it comes to air conditioning. I'm not formally trained, I'm just making crap up as I go. So this came out of that little slot right down there on the compressor. Trying to get the dumb thing to focus. I wish phones had manual focusing. Anyway, so this part came out of there. I cleaned it up a little bit because it was dirty and gross. Now, this is the point where I'm going to ask people for comments. Constructive only, please. No talking smack or any of that trolling garbage. If somebody could enlighten me as to what this is and how it's supposed to function, that would be great. I'm about to disassemble it, cut the casing off of this wire because, as you can see, they're damaged and I'm gonna have to replace them. But I have no idea what this is or how it's supposed to function. This is a ground. Anybody who knows anything about car electronics knows that just attaches to metal casing somewhere on the car, which in this case, it's the stud immediately to the left. Right here is where it attached. What dumbfounds me, and I can't quite figure out, is that a ground wire and the power lead for the magnet, for the clutch, go into the same spot. That doesn't make any sense to me. Again, I'm not an expert, but what I do know about electricity and how electricity functions says that shouldn't work. So, yeah, anybody who wants to comment, enlighten me as to what this is. I am very curious to know. At the moment, I'm going to take it apart, repair the wires that are damaged, and try and rewire it as best I can. Hopefully it'll function when I'm done. Although at this point, the real goal is just having a pulley that will spin without destroying my Serpentine Belt. So, on to the next step. One mystery solved. It's really hard to see that. Sorry about that. There we go. Focus. Okay, so there was a diode underneath that heat shrink. Diodes prevent electricity from moving both directions, forces it to only go in one direction. So that's what, or at least how that functions. It prevents the power from the ground from going the opposite direction of what was intended. I still don't know why that would even be on there. Is that a sensor of some kind? What does it do? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm going to repair the wires. Got my heat shrink, got a heat gun. I'm going to repair the damage. And hopefully put all this back together, and theoretically it'll work when I'm done. Theoretically. Yeah. Yo-ho. Alrighty. We are back. Wires have been repaired. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can use connectors, you can do all kinds of stuff. Me personally, I've watched several videos on tinkering with electronics, and I personally have done it to all my vehicles anytime I needed electrical wiring done, and I personally think it's the best way to do it. putting the wires physically together and then soldering them. And I always use heat shrink over top of them instead of like electrical tape. For one thing, electrical tape over time loses its adhesion and will start coming off, which is annoying. It's also really sticky and gross. It's easier to just cut away heat shrink and replace the sections of wire that are damaged rather than using electrical tape. And for the magnet, because they both had the male ends on them, I cut off, soldered in, and heat shrinked the end that was previously on the old magnet. So I'm going to put these in here in a second as soon as I clean out the port where this thing, whatever this thing is, goes. It must be a sensor of some kind, although what it does I have no idea. I'm going to clean that out and then start putting it back together, and hopefully when we're done she'll run. Alrighty, that's what it looks like all buttoned back up. A little bit worried that that wire that supposed to go into the magnet sticking up like that, that may present a bit of an issue. We'll find out. Gonna figure out if I can get it to bend away from everything else. Maybe if I stuck it under there. Yeah, that might work. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna go down and clean that up. Yikes. Should probably WD-40 the end of that thing. And then start reassembling it. Should be a real adventure. Missing out on work for this, which is not awesome. But such is life. I need a vacation. Okay, so didn't show putting the magnet on. There's really nothing to it. Snap ring goes on the underside of the pulley to hold the magnet in place. This one also has a snap ring, which I can't get a good angle on it to show you. But snap ring pliers in here, press, it opens the thing up. Anyway, yeah, I can't really get a good angle on it, but you use this to press the ring together so it'll open up, and it should fit in that groove. You can kind of see the studs at the end. I want to make sure that it's seated properly, and then we'll put the clutch plate on. Clutch plate is next, and then we're pretty much done. Then it's put everything back together, which is the not so awesome part. So yeah, I'll show you the next step once that's done. Alrighty, she is all buttoned up. Pump moves, pulley moves, clutch moves I should say. Clutch moves, pulley moves. And provided I did all this right, this should work. Little particulars about it. The snap ring on the inside was a real bear to try and get in there. And hopefully I got it all the way seated. I'm not uber confident about it. Pump moves freely, pulley moves okay. I had to use the old clutch plate because I discovered in the new one that on the inside of here there's one place where it's flat, and I don't know if a tooth got sheared off and jammed in there or what happened. They just weren't paying attention, but it's hard to tell. That also might be a feature of this style of clutch plate, so I had to use the old one. Hopefully that won't bite me in the butt. Magnets all in place, pulley's going good, so I think we're all right. I'm going to put the alternator back in there, and then I'm going to plug the negative power terminal, which anytime you're working on car electronics, you want to pull the negative terminal off the battery just for safety and to prevent you needing to buy something that you blew up by crossing a wire. I have not done that yet because I learned from others. So I'm going to button this stupid thing back up, and we'll see if the clutch plate functions, if I wired it correctly. Not going to tear it back down if I didn't, but it'd be quite annoying if it doesn't work. Anyway, okie dokie. This is the last couple sections of this video. Again, I apologize for how choppy it is. One of these days I'll figure out how to flop my camera phone back and forth, or I'll have a little bit better setup if I do this more consistently. Anyway, so you can see the Serpentine Belt is back in place. To get it out, I loosened the tensioner pulley right here. 15 millimeter, not drastically hard. I do not recommend pulling it all the way out, just loosen it. You can get the belt off with only a mild amount of frustration. Pulling it all the way out is horrific to return it. I rebuilt this engine several times from the top all the way down to the block, and it's not fun. I have started it up. The pulley operates as it's supposed to. No more grinding. The bearing's doing good. AC does not function, which is not overly surprising because I put a magnet on there that honestly had a crack in it, so I have questions about whether or not it was worth a darn. Also, I had to repair some wiring that may or may not have been repaired correctly, or it's also entirely possible that the new magnet just doesn't function with that particular style of AC pump. It worked, functions to get the engine along, but does not operate correctly, and the AC pump does not work now as a result of it. So with all that being said, I'm gonna button up the splash guard, it's a splash guard for the wheel well, and we're gonna go from there. It's been a long week. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, go ahead and hit the like button. You can also subscribe. I'll be doing more material as it comes. I actually have this car, my personal baby. It's Pontiac G6. Front end got destroyed when a lady spun out in front of me. She shouldn't have been on the road in the first place. Suspended license, no insurance. Spun out in front of me, and this is what she did to my car. So as you can see, pretty bad on the driver's side. Passenger side is toast. So I'm gonna be repairing that. I'll probably actually have a stationary camera for that one, so you'll be able to see a little more of what goes on. I'm gonna pull the entire front end apart, cut off everything that's damaged, repair the frame where need be. I got some big gigantic pry bars that I'll be using for that. Yeah, so more to come. See y'all later.